Part 1. The Hidden Offspring of Angels. What if the Bible once contained tales so horrifying, so blasphemous, that they were deliberately erased? What if these stories spoke of hybrids, not just of angels and women, but monstrous creatures, half human, half beast, forbidden experiments that walked the earth before the flood? And what if the echoes of these creatures still haunt our myths today? Vampires, werewolves, even the demons of possession? Forbidden origins. Genesis 6:4 tells us the sons of God came down to the daughters of men, and their offspring became mighty men of renown. But Jewish, apocryphal, and forbidden texts add a chilling twist. According to the Book of Enoch, the angels did not stop at women. They began teaching mankind charms, enchantments, and the cutting of roots. They meddled with the boundaries of creation itself. Ancient rabbis whispered that the Watchers corrupted not only humans, but animals, mixing angelic power with beasts, birds, and reptiles. The result? Hybrid abominations, natural monsters roaming the ancient world, the creatures of corruption. Imagine the terror of living in a world where these things were real: beast men, half human, half lion warriors with insatiable hunger. Echoes of them survive in the myths of Mesopotamian Lamassu and Egyptian sphinxes, winged abominations, angelic power grafted onto animals, giving rise to monstrous flying predators. Could this explain the griffins and harpies of Greek myth? Serpent hybrids, snake-human offspring worshipped as gods in many cultures. Quetzalcoatl of Mesoamerica, Naga of India. Were these echoes of corrupted Nephilim experiments? The Rephaim, ghost-like giants, described not only as men of stature but as beings whose very flesh was wrong. Cursed, in the ancient world, people whispered of cannibal giants, devourers of flesh and drinkers of blood. A line of forbidden hybrids erased because their existence was too dangerous to record. Why the Bible erased them? Why do mainstream Bibles contain only a sanitized version? Because the truth was too grotesque. Early church fathers, rabbis, and scribes feared that tales of angelic experiments, human-animal hybrids, and blood-drinking giants would brand creation itself as corrupted. So the records were cut. Entire books, like 1 Enoch and Jubilees, were banned from canon. Others were buried in the desert like the Dead Sea Scrolls, only to be rediscovered in the 20th century. But the whispers remained: case studies, ancient echoes, Mesopotamian Apkallu, semi-divine sages, part fish, part human, who brought forbidden knowledge after the flood. Why part fish? Because they were hybrids. Egyptian Sobek, crocodile-headed god, worshipped with blood sacrifices. Was he the memory of a real hybrid abomination? The Greek Minotaur, half man, half bull, trapped in a labyrinth because its very existence was an abomination. Canaanite Moloch, a bull-headed figure demanding child sacrifice. Was Moloch a lingering hybrid Nephilim remnant? These gods may not have been gods at all, but the remnants of a corrupted age, when angels bred monsters into the world. Blood and hunger. The Book of Giants, another forbidden text, says the Nephilim began to sin against birds, beasts, reptiles, and fish, and to devour one another's flesh and drink the blood. That is not just myth, it is vampirism. Could the legends of vampires originate from these hybrids? Pale, enormous, eternally hungry beings banished, yet never fully erased? And what of werewolves, the ancients, told of men cursed into beasts? Could this be the echo of angelic corruption? Hybrid bloodlines, surfacing in horrific ways? The flood is cleansing now. The flood takes on new meaning. It was not simply judgment for sin. It was an extermination campaign. The world had become so corrupted by hybrids, so saturated with forbidden flesh that it had to be destroyed. But even so, whispers suggest some survived. Og of Bashan, Goliath of Gath, tribes of giants after the flood. Were these the last offspring of forbidden unions? If so, then the blood of monsters still lingered hidden in royal lineages, whispered in secret societies, resurfacing in legends of beasts. But here is the most chilling question. If the Nephilim once corrupted creation itself, mixing angelic power with man and beast, what if the experiments never truly ended? What if the forbidden knowledge survived, buried in occult texts, waiting for mankind to rediscover it in genetics, cloning, and transhumanism? Because the real horror may not be the monsters of the past, but the monsters of the future. This is only the beginning. In Part 2, We'll uncover the legacy of these forbidden hybrids, their traces and bloodlines, their shadows and secret rituals, and the possibility that they are not only history, but prophecy. Follow, subscribe, and join me because the story of the Nephilim monsters has only begun. Part 2. Bloodlines of the Forbidden. What if the monsters of the Nephilim did not vanish with the flood? What if they survived through hidden bloodlines, through kingdoms that demanded blood, through rituals whispered in the dark? And what if their shadows still control more of our world than we dare imagine? The survival question. Genesis 6 tells us the Nephilim existed in those days and also after that, after the flood. How? Theologians argue either Nephilim genes survived through Noah's family, or some giants lived on despite the cataclysm. The Book of Numbers speaks of the Anakim giants so tall the Israelites saw themselves as grasshoppers. Deuteronomy mentions Og, king of Bashan, whose bed was over 13 feet long. These were not just tall men. These were survivors of the forbidden hybrids. Bloodlines of power. The terrifying possibility is that the Nephilim did not simply vanish, they adapted. They hid their blood in human dynasties, embedding themselves in royal lines. Og of Bashan gives later. Canaanite clans, Rephaim and Anakim. Goliath and his brothers gives the Philistine giants, remembered as enemies of Israel. Ancient Mesopotamian kings who claim descent from gods and giants, even today. Whispers persist that certain royal families guard divine bloodlines. Some researchers connect these claims directly to Nephilim ancestry. Is this why so many monarchies claim the right to rule by divine descent? Because their blood was never entirely human. The cult of blood. Everywhere the Nephilim appeared, so did rituals of blood sacrifice. In Canaan, children were burned alive to Moloch, the bull-headed god. In Phoenicia and Carthage, victims were offered to Baal-Hamon, another hybrid figure. In Central America, blood was spilled for feathered serpent gods. Why blood? Because the Nephilim thirsted for it. The Book of Giants says they drank it, feeding their monstrous hunger. Sacrifice was not symbolic, it was literal nourishment. The gods demanded blood because the hybrids required it. Giants as rulers. History is littered with stories of kings remembered as giants. Gilgamesh, Uruk, described as 2/3 divine, 1/3 man. Egyptian pharaohs, often depicted as towering beyond ordinary men. Biblical giants ruling fortified cities impossible to conquer. Even the word Rephaim comes from a root meaning shades or spirits of the dead. Were these rulers not only physical giants, but also spiritually corrupted? And if they reigned as kings, is it possible some still sit on thrones today? The occult legacy. Secret societies throughout history have claimed connection to ancient knowledge passed from gods or angels. The Freemasons revere Hiram Abiff, a builder tied to Solomon's temple where Canaanite and Nephilim cults once thrived. The Rosicrucians whisper of hidden wisdom from divine messengers. The Illuminati allegedly trace power through bloodlines, guarding secrets of genetic purity. Could these not be just traditions but actual remnants of Nephilim worship? Forbidden archaeology. Archaeologists occasionally uncover skeletons that don't fit the human mold. Skulls elongated beyond nature, bones of giants mysteriously erased from museums. Native American legends of the red-haired giants of Nevada describe cannibalistic beings exterminated by tribes. Skeletons supposedly found in Lovelock Cave were conveniently lost by institutions. Why is evidence always hidden? Because the existence of hybrids threatens the very foundation of biblical and scientific order. The genetic shadow. If Nephilim bloodlines persisted, what would that mean today? Some conspiracy theorists point to modern elites, banking dynasties, political families, royalty who intermarry to preserve bloodlines. Are they merely guarding wealth? Or guarding something darker, a fragment of forbidden DNA? Because if angelic corruption touched mankind once, it could happen again. And in the age of genetics, cloning, and transhumanism, what was once forbidden myth might be reborn as science. We've traced the monsters of the Nephilim from the flood, into the bloodlines of kings, into the shadows of secret cults. But what if they never truly left? What if they are not only in our past, but preparing for our future? Because in Part 3, we will explore the most dangerous question of all. Are the Nephilim destined to return? And if they do, will they come as monsters or as our saviors? Part 3. The return of the forbidden. What if the monsters erased from the Bible were not erased at all? What if their return has already begun hidden in the shadows of science? Prophecy. And the stars? The Nephilim were destroyed once, but prophecy whispers that in the final days, they will rise again. Prophecy of the return. Ancient texts do not simply describe the Nephilim as relics of the past, they warn of their future. The book of Daniel speaks of kingdoms that shall mingle with the seed of men, but they shall not cleave one to another. Was this a vision of hybrids, something not fully human, never blending with mankind? Revelation 9 describes the abyss opening, unleashing beings so monstrous that men will beg to die, but death will flee from them. Are these demons, or hybrids sealed away until the end? Enoch himself foresaw judgment not only for the watchers, but for their offspring, destined to rise in the days of fire. The terrifying implication: the Nephilim were not wiped out. They were restrained, waiting. The alien question: modern man calls them by another name, aliens. Strange beings descending from the sky. Abductions where experiments are performed on human DNA. Reports of hybrid children. What ancient texts called watchers, today's world calls extraterrestrials. But what if they are the same? Fallen angels were branded for a modern age. Ezekiel saw wheels within wheels descending from the heavens. Modern UFOs appear as disks of fire. Contactees describe beings obsessed with reproduction, seed, and hybridization. The narrative has not changed in thousands of years, only the language. Forbidden science, the new Tower of Babel in Genesis. Humanity once tried to storm the heavens by building the Tower of Babel. God scattered them, preventing their unholy unity. But in the 21st century, mankind is building a new tower not of bricks, but of genes, circuits, and machines. CRISPR technology allows scientists to edit DNA. Synthetic embryos are being grown without father or mother. AI is evolving faster than human understanding. We are repeating the forbidden experiments of the Watchers, merging what should never be merged, and the closer we come, the louder the ancient shadows stir. The return of the giants all across the world. Whispers of giants persist. In Afghanistan, soldiers claim to have encountered a red-haired giant, killed in battle. The story vanished from official reports. In South America, legends speak of giant skeletons buried beneath mountains. In Sardinia, locals still tell tales of giant graves hidden from the public. Are these not rumors but warnings? Echoes of the Nephilim waking again? If the DNA of hybrids survive through hidden bloodlines, what happens when science gives them the power to reactivate it? Occult resurrection for centuries. Secret societies have pursued the great work in alchemy of blood, spirit, and power. The whispers are consistent, a return to the time when gods walked among men, but not gods of heaven, fallen gods of fire, rituals invoking fallen angels, bloodlines guarded for generations, symbols of giants carved into hidden temples. The occult does not look backward, it looks forward, to resurrection. And what if their goal is not symbolic at all? What if they literally seek to restore the Nephilim on earth? The great deception. Christian prophecy warns of a strong delusion. What if that delusion is not political or cultural but cosmic? Imagine the sky splits open. Messengers descend in ships of light. They bring miracles, technology, healing. The world bows in awe. But they are not saviors. They are the return of the forbidden. The Nephilim reborn, offering false salvation, demanding worship, and humanity, blind with desperation, will welcome them as gods. The genetic apocalypse. Revelation describes a time when mankind itself changes, locusts with human faces, beasts unlike anything on earth. Could this be the ultimate endgame, a genetic apocalypse, where Nephilim DNA fuses again with humanity? Already, scientists speak of creating post-humans. Already, the wealthy chase immortality through biotech. Already, machines and flesh are merging. Perhaps the forbidden hybrids are not coming back. Perhaps they are being rebuilt through us. The last warning from Enoch to Revelation. One warning repeats: the hybrids will return, not as myth, not as memory, but as reality. And when they do, it will not be with swords and spears. It will be with miracles, technology, and promises of a new age. But behind their beauty will be the same hunger that drove them before: to corrupt, to dominate, to devour. The Nephilim began as forbidden children of angels and men. They grew into monsters that consumed the earth. They were erased from scripture, but not from reality. And now, their shadow stretches again across our world. So I leave you with this: when the skies blaze with fire, and beings step forward calling themselves saviors, will you recognize them for what they are, or will humanity, once more, kneel before the monsters of the Nephilim? The choice may soon be ours.